Yes, people, welcome back to Albert JTV match review time. West Ham United 2, Arsenal 2. So much to talk about. But before we get into it, let's hit the intro. Footballing community, you should know what to do by now. Like, share, and subscribe. Welcome back to Albert JTV. A social media platform. Know what you're talking about. And what I mean by that is goals, ESR and Saka have done well. They've done okay. They've done well. Yes, people, welcome back to Albert JTV. We are live in the Albert JTV household in a certain part of Southeast London. But even a few hours after the game now, I'm still annoyed, man. Oh, come on, Arsenal, man. Flipping hell, man. So honestly, I'm laughing, but I'm not honestly, it's not funny. I'm not. People in the chat, when you do arrive, obliterate the like button and share on all social media platforms. We are live on YouTube, Facebook, and on the Twitter timeline as we speak. Oh man, where do I start? So yeah, a little bit of time after the game now. I actually need to re-watch back what Mikel Arteta had to say. I recorded it because I was just setting up the stream and doing other bits and pieces and YouTube shorts. And you content creators know what I'm talking about, man. Yeah, so definitely 2 points dropped. In short, before I sort of get right into it in terms of what I saw today, 2 Premier League games in a row. We go 2-0 up. We play some fantastic football. We control the tempo of the game. We are dictating the ball. We are on the front foot. We are put ourselves in a brilliant position in our last 2 games, and we've taken 2 points out of 6. That's just the cold, hard reality and facts. Before I get into it even more, let me quickly go to the chat to see who's in there. Big up Andy. Anthony, what's happening, mate? Big up Albert. This draw feels like a defeat, if I'm honest. And Partey and Saka were both poor today. Mate, we'll get into it. Of course, let me not forget, audio listeners, as usual, you'll hear my dulcet tones when I put this on Spotify and also put this on the Apple podcast as well. So you can listen to this back if you're probably too busy eating your Sunday roast or you're just annoyed after that result today. And I get it, man. I get it. I do get it. As I said to you many times before, guys, with Arsenal, like I'm speaking for myself here, so I don't want to talk about anybody else, is that football can be an emotional game. And anybody that's seen me do my YouTube platform in the last 3 years this June, I try to. It's not even about being balanced. It's not getting pulled into the emotional outpour and outcries that you see on one particular platform. Let's be honest, on Twitter. I've seen little bits today after that result today. And I get it. Behind it is a lot of disappointment because obviously the juggernaut behind us in Man City are right upon our necks, people, as we know. But yeah, some people really went in on the Twitter platform. I've got to be honest, like wow. People saying the title was done. It's Arsenal have blown it. But then I think to myself, look, we've got 7 games to go, right? There are a lot of things that can happen. It's not even about relying on results, because we're still in a position where we can win the league if results kind of carry the way they're going on. It'd just be like Arsenal. Let's do it on the last day of the season and win the league by a point. I mean, I don't personally want that. I don't think the Arsenal fan wants that. But if you get the most points in the league in the season, you win it, don't you? But it's really, really ramping up now, week by week. And obviously, the last couple of weeks, Arsenal dropped points. The point at Anfield, I get it, but then you back it up with a win at West Ham. And my words were exactly, I went on the brilliant Fran. If you do watch this, you watch it now, you watch it on catch up on the Fran channel last week. And then my words exactly were, coming towards the West Ham game, is that Arsenal need to go to West Ham and absolutely rip them to pieces. Those were my exact words. It wasn't cockiness, it wasn't arrogance. It never is with me. But after the result against Liverpool. You know, what I mean, won 7 games out of 8 before today, but um, what you want Arsenal to do, which they did do, obviously, Tierney comes in for Zinchenko. Zinchenko's got a bit of a muscular issue, so be it. Listen, we talk about depth and wanting Tierney to get more minutes, as many Arsenal fans have said, and he comes in. But yeah, listen, the league table doesn't lie. Let me say this from the outset, because I don't want this to come across like sour grapes. No disrespect to West Ham, right? They've got some very good players actually, and I know that, like most people do. But they're in the position they are in the league for a reason, because they've been a poor side this season, and it showed today. I was confident Arsenal prediction wise. I went 3-1 Arsenal today, because what I saw Newcastle do to West Ham at that stadium, was it a week ago now? They absolutely destroyed them. And you could arguably say, well, not even arguably, you could say we are a better footballing side than Newcastle, with the greatest of respect. So yeah, I went for a 3-1 prediction, and the way we started the game was fantastic, absolutely fantastic. You go, 2 goals up in 10 minutes. That's not a bad start in an away game in a London derby where your record is pretty decent. Before today, 9 out of 10 wins. Best London turnaround in terms of London derby results for 135 years, I believe it is, with Arsenal doing that well in the games. But yeah, what a start, man. Like, I can't, as an Arsenal fan, after what happened last week, you can't complain with the start that you saw. And yeah, listen, it was a good bit of play, man. Let's be honest. You can talk about it from a West Ham's point of view about the defense, but a decent passage of play. We get Ben White in down there left-hand side behind Cresswell, puts in a beautiful ball across the box, and Jesus is there to knock it in to put us 1-0 up. And you really couldn't have wished for a better start, really. And you know what? He's come back at a pivotal time, Jesus. He's been out for a long time. He's finding the back of the net again. And what he does is he gives us it's not that he gives us a different dimension, we know that, but what he does do is his ball retention is fantastic. There were many Arsenal players off it today, and they were absolutely. We'll get into it a bit more, but the one Arsenal player for me that I could say, you know what, no, he actually played well for the time that he was on the pitch. It was Jesus. And yeah, great start. 1-0 up, man. And I'm fist pumping, everything, chest pumping, sitting at home watching the game. And it gets even better. We go 2-0 up. Martinelli sticks it in the back post. Ødegaard sticks it away. I believe between Martinelli, Saka, and Ødegaard, 57 goal contributions, including today in the Premier League. Outstanding return. Absolutely outstanding. And we bossed it. West Ham didn't penetrate us at all. Yes, they had Antonio from a physical point of view, which was going to give Rob Holding and Gabriel a few problems. But generally, large, West Ham weren't in that game at all, and we didn't allow them to be. My issue with Arsenal then from 2-0 is you go for the jugular. West Ham are in the position they are in. They're fighting for their lives to stay in the Premier League. They've been caned at home to Newcastle, and we're 2-0 up within 10 minutes. You have to go for blood and get the third. But then it turned into, I don't even know the best way to describe it, people watching this live and watching it back. It almost turned into a testimonial. Arsenal would just, I don't mind you being comfortable in possession, but there has to be an angle when you get in, to me, I've seen some people on the timeline mention it as arrogance. I've seen some people mention it on the timeline as taking your foot off the gas. I saw some stronger words, but I'm not going to repeat it on my live stream. But yeah, they just were just cruising through the first half. And I don't mean that in a good way, because you go 2-0 up in 10 minutes. They're not threatening us. Defensively, they've not been great this season, West Ham. And you go and get the third, but we were popping the ball around like it was a training session, which looks good when the other team's not in it. But then you go and look for the third goal. because the third goal was there for the taking. And one thing that I wanted Arsenal to learn from last week after going 2-0 up at Anfield was don't get yourself into a position where you're in a strong position and you're going to throw it away by either making a mistake or being too lax in possession. And it's a combination of both. Thomas Partey had a 5-minute spell where he was awful, completely gone to sleep. The goal, West Ham get back into it. We wake up the London Stadium. He's there trying to flick it over Declan Rice. Declan Rice has robbed him with the ball. And subsequently, Gabriel gives away the penalty by the foul on Pakata. And before you know it, it's 2-1. You're thinking to yourself, what is going on here? And like I said, the party had just had a horror 5 minutes. He concedes, he loses the ball. He gets booked not too long afterwards. I actually thought that was a bit harsh for a yellow card. And then he gives the ball away. And when he kicks it out of touch, I said, what's going on here? He wasn't great today. And the fact that it was his fault for the goal. I know people mentioned about Gabriel, but he wouldn't be in that position if Thomas Partey hadn't have been too lackadaisical on the ball. And that's what caused them getting the goal. So you're thinking to yourself, West Ham didn't deserve to go 2-1, but, you know, football doesn't owe you anything. And so frustrating to 2 weeks in a row being 2-0 up, going in at halftime, flipping 2-2. But let me come back to that in a minute. Someone's in the chat as well. Gooner for life. It's difficult to understand how we didn't win that game after being 2-0 up. I think that's the issue. I think you've got two different emotions in our last two games, Gooner for life. And that is the disappointment of getting a draw at Anfield, which I didn't think I'd ever say as an Arsenal fan, to be honest. And then you watch today and how it panned out, particularly after, I would say, the start of the second half. I couldn't believe what I was watching. I thought, okay, get him in at halftime. Let's regroup. Whatever Mikel Arteta says in his team talk will hopefully go in one ear and not go out the other. But we start the second half and it wasn't great, man. It wasn't great. You know, almost the momentum from the first half of West Ham getting the penalty and going back in at 2-1. And then they had a 10-minute spell where they were quite dangerous, actually. And they're quite a danger from set pieces. Not that great this season, the sort of their turnaround, but aerially they got a threat with Antonio. Souček is not exactly a midget. And yeah, like I said, we got at halftime 2-1, but it's come out for the second half. It wasn't great, if I'm being honest. And I wouldn't even say it's against the run of play. It was just the fact that we found ourselves in a position where we got a penalty. I don't know as a player what you're supposed to do in that position. You know, you're naturally going to move your arms in different directions of how you jump or how you try to protect yourself or but it is what it is. I'm not going to complain as an Arsenal fan. We get a penalty. I didn't have a problem. Whoever took it, Odegaard, Saka, Jesus. Jesus obviously scored the last penalty. We had it at the Emirates, I believe it was. And yeah, Saka takes the penalty. Did I think he would score? Yeah, I did. I was confident he would. It's not that he didn't strike it well. He just didn't put it on target. And massive, massive, massive turning point. We lost our momentum in the first half. We conceded the goal to go 2-1. We come back out. We don't start that great, but we get the penalty. You score that, and it's a completely different ball game, and you hush that stadium completely. And then West Ham are in a predicament. We missed the penalty. We've got to go again. And we concede a goal to go 2-2. Now, I don't know what you guys think. Audio listeners got the image of Saka missing the penalty on screen. Yeah, a big shame, because he's actually, if you look at his penalty sort of record at Arsenal, it's pretty decent. I mean, he scored penalties against United, Chelsea, Tottenham, Man City, and Liverpool. So you've got good pedigree there to believe that you're going to stick it in the net. But you know what, people, you can miss penalties. It happens. It absolutely does happen. And that's what exactly happened. So we saw the goal we concede. Now, look, Arsenal don't deal with the ball coming in. Gabriel doesn't even see him. But Bowen's still got a lot to do to put that in the goal. So when it did go in, I thought the first thing I thought to myself was flipping hell. It's 2-2. Then my second thought immediately was, I need to see the goal again. because it looked initially like Ramsdale got a hand to it. When I saw the replay, and listen, the life of a goalkeeper, man. He makes fantastic saves last week against Liverpool, but I'm sorry, he's got to save that. That you get a hand to it that strong, you have to save that. You've got to save it. So for me, that's a goalkeeping mistake. Despite the good strike from Bowen, that was a goalkeeping error because he's got to save that. Despite how well he struck it, he's got to save it. But and then with the momentum, then from West Ham getting it back to 2-2, you kind of feared a little bit, if I'm being honest with you, because we've gave a team confidence who didn't really have any, not on the best run of form in terms of games, winning games, in a relegation battle, got stuffed the previous week by Newcastle at home. Arsenal then have, knowing that they got the point against Liverpool, have to go there and extend the lead back to 6 points. And from they got it back to 2-2, we made West Ham look fantastic with the greatest of respect. We did. And subsequently, if I don't know if you guys can remember it, because I certainly can't remember where we had any cohesive patterns of play. You got the incident on their right hand side where Tierney's knocked in a fantastic ball across the box, and you waiting for Jesus to stick it in. But we didn't create anything. We didn't really get any combination play with Saka and Ben White. I thought Saka was probably one of his poorest games for a while. Thomas Partey was poor and he was obviously on a yellow card as well. Erdegaard tried to get in the game, but just couldn't really get into areas where he could affect the play and, make a difference. But yeah, we had moments. We had a lot of possession. I think we ended up on 72% possession, but people, that's not, 72% possessions, 11 shots at goal, 5 on target, 2 corners and 8 fouls. West Ham 28% possession, 16 shots at goal though, with 3 on target. But yeah, it was disappointing, man, because and then we talk about the subs. I know this has been a bone of contention from last week when we played Liverpool. But before I go into it, let me see. Fran in the chat. Go on, Fran. What's happening? Fran, just getting into it, talking about Arsenal not really creating anything in the second half and the substitutions. So there were quite a few, to be honest with you. I think if I'm speaking for myself and not as an Arsenal fans on the whole, because obviously they got their opinions about the subs that were made in terms of trying to win the game. You know what I mean? Go and win the game. I get the Jesus thing because that's about managing him back. But for me, I would have made a triple sub. I would have bought Jorginho for Partey. I would have taken off either Saka or Martinelli because they were not getting any joy in that second half at all. So you make the call and take one of those off. And then obviously, and then you bring on Eddie for Jesus. Because it looked to me that if Jesus was on the bench, not Jesus, if Eddie was on the bench, then I guess what you give him 10, 15 minutes, maybe, if you're winning the game, but we weren't. So, and we needed a goal. So if you're going to take off Jesus, then you bring on Eddie. Then you've got someone who's going to actually be that poacher in the box, and Trossard and Saka, whoever it was that would have come off at the time if he'd have done it, or Martinelli would, there'd be more interchange. And I mean, I thought with Jorginho coming on, it settled a little bit in terms of we didn't our possession centrally in the middle of the park, we completely lost control. I thought Declan Rice played well for West Ham today, actually. On Declan Rice, watch a little bit. But yeah, we didn't get any control. We got it a little bit, but in terms of progression into the final third, that didn't change. Trossard made some good runs. He was busy, tried to get into the game, but we didn't really create anything. Let's be honest. I mean, if you go on, even if you went back and watched the game for 90 minutes or just watch the 45 minutes of the second half, we didn't really create anything. And Arsenal now have put themselves in a position. And I've got to be honest, I'm going to say this. I have to say this. I did this on my fan cam for Mo, and I did a little YouTube short. And I think when it went to 2-2, I didn't really, as a fan today, watching it at home. I don't know how the guys felt at the stadium. It'd be interesting to know what they felt like. But the belief for me wasn't there today to go and get them 3 points. from when it was 2-2. Obviously, it's a different game if Saka scores a penalty and it's 3-1. But for me, the belief wasn't there today that Arsenal could go and get them 3 points when it was at 2-2. It just lacked a little. There were too many players that were off it. You can play poorly and win because it's football and it happens. But to be in a position 2 weeks in a row in winning positions and you've conceded 5 goals, it's not good enough. It's not good enough, particularly when you're going for a league title. Let's be blunt and let's be truthful and let's be transparent. You cannot afford to give up 4 points out of 6 when going for a league title. It's facts. When you know you've got the juggernaut, as I mentioned before, behind you in Man City. I do still generally believe after we lost to Man City on the 15th of February at home, that City would drop points, and I think they will. I don't think they necessarily lose a lot of games, but I do think they will drop points. I look at their fixtures, and there's 3 games. There's 3 games where they could, possibly 4. But as long as we take care of business, we'll win the league. But now what it's done is we had pressure. We had pressure, knowing that when we do eventually go to the Etihad and we go to St James's Park, that for me it was about going into them games with there will be pressure anyway, but going in same games, giving yourself the least pressure possible going into 2 of those big away games. But what we've done by the result today is we've increased the pressure even more on ourselves, not only just to get the results for the remainder of the season, but when we go to St James's Park and we go to the Etihad, we've made it very, very difficult for ourselves. Not impossible, but very, very difficult. This is not Mission Impossible stage like Tom Cruise and the rest of it, but we've made it very, very hard for ourselves. So we have to go again against Southampton on Friday. I'll be there for that game. I didn't originally have a ticket, but I will be there. And Arsenal just need to go and take care of business. You know, like I said before to someone I speak to, when we do play Southampton, they're in a position now where they're desperate for points, but they don't score a lot of goals. They concede way too many goals. Their record isn't that great against Arsenal, not at the Emirates anyway, in the Emirates era. They're bottom of the league for a reason. Now, Arsenal needs to go and pick themselves up very, very quickly. Like I said, the game's not till Friday. We need to get back to Libra a bit more as quick as possible. They're saying he's a few weeks away. I'm not sure he'll make the Man City game personally. I think he might not even make the Chelsea game, but it depends how quickly he recovers. But for him not being in the side, he is a miss, but I don't think that's why we dropped the points today. 100% no. Our inability to not play at testimonial pace in the first half, our inability to go and get the 3rd goal, and our self-destruct in giving them a foot in the game by giving them the penalty. So yeah, I was very, very, very annoyed. I could use stronger words, but I'm not going to. And I get why Arsenal fans are not particularly very happy. Let me come to the chat quickly. Missed second half as I was out of family dinner, so I'm letting you feel me. Frag, go and watch the highlights, man. I know it's painful, but painful with that we dropped 2 points, but watch it back, trust me. Yeah, Wilson's in there. Let me see. I'm actually fuming with Arsenal draw against West Ham. It was a clumsy tackle from Gabriel. We have lost our confidence and authority after the penalty. Yeah, I think the tackle by Gabriel wouldn't have happened if Thomas Partey wasn't messing around with the ball with his back to goal, and he should know better than anybody else as an experienced midfield player. When you receive the ball like that, you've got to know the picture before you receive the ball. He wasn't put in danger. He tried to be fancy and flick it up over Declan Rice's head, which wasn't very helpful. But yeah, remember Wilson's comment, Saka's confidence was completely shot very after the penalty. Yeah, the penalty miss, he was gone. He's completely gone. I actually, if I was, and I'm not saying this because it's wise after the event, I would have took him off. That's my own personal opinion. But he did take him off in the end. No, he took off Martinelli. Sorry, he took off Martinelli. But yeah, Gooners, man. Listen, we're 4 points ahead. City have a game in hand. we could go to 7 points come Friday night if we take care of business. I don't know who City's next game is against. If I've got it right, it would have been Brighton, but they've had to postpone that because it was, I think, because of the FA Cup games. Have I got that right, or Champions League? I'm not too sure. But I think the next City's next game, I think is it? I think it's us. It's definitely us. Yeah. So what is that? If I got that right, people. So by the time we go to City, say for example, if we go and beat Southampton 7 points, play City, put a lot of pressure on ourselves. We have because they're, like I said, they're. Let me see. I'm going to chat quickly. You cannot be telling Wilson, but you cannot be telling me that game was a point gain. That was clearly 2 points short. Totally embarrassing, unacceptable. Wilson, I don't think any Arsenal fan in any part of the world has said that as a point gain today. They absolutely haven't. If they have said that, then you need to show me the receipts, because I don't think that any Arsenal fan would have said that. I was very clear and unequivocal that that was 2 points dropped today. It's even in my title, my friend. Even in the title, it is 2 points dropped. It is. But let me come to Wilson's comment again before I sort of finish up, because I won't do a long one, people. We have to beat Southampton and get things back on track, and confidence-wise, we do. And that's the thing, like, we beat Southampton, that's 7 points. Because, yeah, City would have played Brighton before they played us, but because of other cup competition commitments, we're City's next game. If I got that right, we are 10 days time. So yeah, so listen, we got to move on very, very quickly. Like I said, I need to rewatch hear what Mikel Arteta said after the game, but yeah, I just think today it was self-inflicted. They shot themselves in the foot, Arsenal. I don't know why they didn't go for the juggler in the first half, because West Ham were all over the place. And you get that third goal, that game is over, absolutely over. And we go and take them apart like Newcastle did when they went there last week, but we didn't do it. So listen, I'm not going to go over it too much. I want to big up to the people in the chat for joining me for this match review. Very, very annoying, as you can tell. But people, as you know already, if you can see people watching this on YouTube and Facebook, my Instagram and Twitter is at the bottom of the screen with the overlay. And like I said, this will go out on my audio platforms on Spotify and Apple as well. So look out for that, man. But yeah, I want to big up to the people in the chat for joining me for this Sunday evening. You're probably relaxing, don't want to watch any football for the rest of tonight. But people, if you don't know what to do by now, this is what you should do. And there you have it, people. All the listeners, that was a little intro to say thanks for watching, and like, share, and subscribe. So yeah, people, we have to dust ourselves off as fans very quickly. My advice is, I know it's difficult because people sometimes don't have good restraint. If you're on social media, especially on Twitter, put your phone down for about an hour, 2 hours. Trust me, it ain't worth it. Dust yourself off, go and have a soft drink or a glass of wine, whatever you do in your spare time. The result's done. It's done. You can only, you can't change the result now. It's done. Arsenal have heaped the pressure on themselves. We as Arsenal fans can only get behind the team. We cannot go out there and kick the ball for them. We cannot go out there and stop stupid mistakes and self-inflicted mistakes and giving away penalties and not taking initiative away from other teams when you're in a commanding position. That's not down to us as Arsenal fans. The players have to go out and do that on the pitch. I mean, Mikel Arteta, if his hair wasn't so immaculate, he'd probably be pulling it out. But yeah, listen, we got to move, man. We move. Let's go to a chat. Fran, love Fran. Nav, it's very underwhelming. The second half, absolutely. That was, I don't know what. I'm sure Mikel Arteta, when he has halftime team talks, tells them not to go out and play even worse after they've conceded. I'm sure he doesn't tell them that. So I don't know what happened, man. Seriously. But people, smash a like, subscribe to Albert JTV, and I'll be back with more content, whether that be match reviews, previews, weekly surgery, and of course, my complete baby and life stories. Hopefully, I'll have another episode coming up soon. There are guests lined up, but as I said, people, YouTube content creating, people's time is everything, and you just got to sometimes get it right. But big up to people in the chat. Thank you for tuning in. Send your virtual hugs and waves goodbye now, because Albert JTV is going to log out. Brenny, I've just finished, mate. So you're gonna have to watch it on catch up. Thanks for tuning in, though. Love Brenny, for appreciate it, man. But yeah, just very annoyed after that. So I need to take some time out, man. Seriously. So listen, man. That is Albert JTV over and out for another match review. West Ham 2, Arsenal 2, 4 points clear at the top. Pressure and momentum is mounting at the same time. Arsenal, stick together and you can do this. Over and out, people.